Before I came into Village Missions, I was in the United States Air Force. I had an opportunity to work as a electronics measurement technician. We had to calibrate, repair, and align anything that measured anything. And then for about 10 years, in the middle of my time, I had the opportunity to work for the National Security Agency. I was doing computer programming. When I arrived, it was a maintenance depot, and they had no tracking. It was all pen and paper. So I was asked to take a look at it, and we developed a tracking system that was computer-based. I had to do briefings because they were wanting to know what we were doing to track the equipment, how we were controlling the items, and I couldn't figure out why was I ended up having to do all these briefings. Of course, I'd have rather been back in front of my computer, but now I see how God was doing that to prepare me for something else. We had been stationed overseas for 10 years in Germany, where we had gotten involved with Awanas and with the chapel system. And when we came back, we really had a desire to continue to serve in Awanas and to be a part of a church body. So we were looking for churches. We had been stationed in McCord Air Force Base in Washington State, and we kept driving by this little church. There were lots of churches around there, but this little one, we'd drive by it almost every day, and we'd say, well, we ought to try that one. So we went, and the first Sunday we were there, the starting words were, Guten Tag auf Deutschland. Welcome back from Germany. Come to find out, one of the couples in the church had just gotten back from a missions trip, and they were welcoming them back. But I don't think that's all there was to it. I think the Lord was telling us something. And after the service was over, we went to look for our kids. They had gone to children's church, and this crazy little lady came up to us and said, welcome home. And she put her arms around us, and she just so loving and kind, and she just was talking to us as we were going back to get our kids, and just like we'd always known her. And that was Marlene Phillips, Pastor Len Phillips' wife from Village Missionaries at the time. And I started talking to Len about full-time ministry. We knew we were being called into some type of ministry, but we weren't sure exactly what it was or what it was going to look like. Serena kept telling me, well, I think we're called to be missionaries. And I kept telling her, well, I think it's more me being called into the pastorate. So we're like, Lord, what is going on here? What is it that you're calling us to do? And Len starts talking to me about this school called Contenders that they're having up at Machias. So I ended up I'm going to a Village Missions church, I'm going to a Village Missions school, and I get up there and I meet Pastor Ron Salee. And after going to a couple classes, Ron starts calling and saying, would you go fill in at this church? Would you fill the pulpit this Sunday? And we just started following the Lord's lead in the door he was opening. And I came up on retirement. It was time to take that uniform off and to put that life behind us. We applied for Village Missions, and we were accepted, and we were told to wait for a call. So we get a call from Walt Jacoby, who was the DR here in California, and he said, would you go to Southern California? And he started telling me about the church, and he started telling me that it was a very focused church on children's ministries. And he told us about the culture here and what the kids were going through. And because of my background in my life, he said, I'll give you some time to pray about it. I said, okay. He said, call me in a couple days. I said, okay. I hung up the phone and said, Serena, start packing. God just called us. The next thing we knew, we were arriving at Lenwood. That was 12 and a half years ago. And we've known this is where God has wanted us ever since.
We really enjoy it. We love Village Missions. We love the people. Not only the people in our community, but the people in Village Missions as well. It's like a big family to us, and we love it.
Looking back in the transition between the Air Force and Village Missions, we could have gone 1,000 different ways. I'd been offered jobs by the NSA. There was a possibility of being picked up as a government contractor, continuing to work with the electronics equipment, all of which would have, by the world's view, probably been a lot smarter. But why go into Village Missions? Why do this? When I took that uniform off 12 and a half years ago, I wasn't checking out of the battle. I was checking into a greater battle, because there's a greater war to be fought. Not over land or economics or oil, but this is a war being fought over the souls of men and women. And the reward in that is much, much greater. We're given an opportunity to go to places where, if Village Missions hadn't sent us there wouldn't be a voice for Christ. The gospel wouldn't be being preached. But yet Village Mission sees it as a worthwhile ministry to support us, to send us out there, to be that voice. A lot of times we like to make things more complicated than they have to be. You have to do this, you have to do that, these checkpoints. Village Missions doesn't do that. Village Missions focuses on two things, and they tell us this from the beginning, and they remind us over and over. Love the people and preach the word. And then they give us the freedom to go out and do that. And that's an amazing thing. Your life is going to be changed in ways you couldn't imagine.